What is up, MMA community? I just want to let you guys know that this podcast may have some graphic language that may not be suitable for all audiences. The listener discretion is advised. Welcome to episode 16 of the BP Mean Gene MMA show. I'm BP, and as always, joining me on the left of your screen is Mean Gene. How's it going, Mean Gene?
What's up, guys? Sitting in my whip right now. Fucking power's out at the house. We had a crazy storm up here in the Chicagoland area, so no power since Monday, which is fucked up. But still grinding. Still gonna put a podcast out. We got a big ass card coming up, UFC 252. Looking forward to it. So no way I was gonna miss this podcast. So just excited to knock this thing out.
Yeah, we got to get that preview out. Another thing, a little bit of news for you guys. As you can see behind my head, we got, a new logo? That's what that is. And Jacob De Leon, I believe is how you pronounce his last name, of All Access MMA fame. He's the one who made that logo for us, so just shout out to him. Thank you for that. It's still a used part of our old logos. You can see with their beautiful faces in that background. But, yeah. So hope you guys like that. We're making some changes over here at the BP Mean Gene MMA show. What are you looking at over there?
Fucking the power guy's walking up right now. Go ahead.
Is he? This is how you get.
Yeah, sorry about that. Anyways, go ahead.
Did you get the dog? Or are you good?
No, he's good. He's good. Hey, Huey, shut up. Go ahead.
There we go. Live on the show.
Yeah.
So just a few talking points here, Mean Gene, and then we'll get into our picks, our bets, and then we'll close off this damn thing. So first thing I want to talk to you about, coming into UFC 252, we got DC, his last fight. Rarely do we see someone where we know it's their last fight going into that fight. What do you think of his legacy? If he wins, what do you think of his legacy? If he loses, what do you think of his legacy coming into this fight?
All right. So, as a fighter in general, obviously, one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time. Just given the fact that of his run at light heavyweight and light heavyweight and inside the heavyweight division as well. In the sense of everyone is throwing. Give me 1 second. One more. My bad. 2 more seconds.
These guys walking around.
All right, cool. Yeah, I apologize for that. My dog's fucking barking in the background because the comment guys are in their backyard looking at the power lines and shit. So, anyways, as for DC, yeah, I feel like he is one of the greatest MMA fighters just based on his run at heavyweight. And in the light heavyweight division, unfortunately, he lost to John Jones 2 times. In the sense of the heavyweight division, what does this do for him? I don't think if he beats Stipe, I don't think that solidifies him as. I don't feel like that solidifies him as the greatest heavyweight of all time. Only reason is because of his resume. I feel like if you go back and look at just strictly the heavyweight division and the fighters that he beat in the heavyweight division, I don't feel like that puts him at number one. At least number one in the UFC's history. For me, it's Fedor still. But even if DC beats Stipe, I still think Stipe has the better resume in that heavyweight division. Now, obviously, DC would have 2 victories over him, so it's it's a little bit tough to say that Stipe still is the better heavyweight. But
what about Velasquez? Yeah, I don't know.
no, not Velasquez, no way. No, not Cain Velasquez. Unfortunately, he's not. It's Stipe right now. If Stipe beats DC, it's solidified. There's no question he is the greatest heavyweight of all time in the UFC, and then definitely, arguably, the greatest of all time. Up against Fedor. I still personally think Fedor is the greatest of all time, but I just like DC's resume. I don't even with the win, you still question it. I mean, I think naturally you beat Stipe 2 times.
Yeah, I
You're probably going to say he is the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time. But when it comes up to Fedor, there's no question that Fedor is better than DC. Now, if Stipe wins, there is a question between the two of them. But that's where it's at. And convoluted way of me explaining it. That's my answer.
Okay, yeah. I think DC's in a weird position. I agree with you that Fedor is the greatest heavyweight of all time. I think he's in a weird position because of his natural weight class being heavyweight, but he cut down for all those years because of Cain Velasquez being the champion, and just running into John Jones being the greatest in general of all time. So he's in a weird position where he's definitely not the greatest light heavyweight of all time. He's not necessarily the greatest heavyweight of all time, but he's still in the conversation of being the greatest of all time in general, which is an interesting position because usually just to be in the in general discussion, you have to be the greatest in your division, but he's not. So, but in terms of the DC versus Stipe thing, if he beats Stipe, I don't know if I would have to definitely look a little bit more because I know Fabrizio Werdum had a phenomenal track record as well. There's a few that I would have to look at, but I can say for the most part, I would say that Daniel Cormier is the heavyweight GOAT of the UFC, but he's not going to beat out Fedor. But when you have the Stipe, to me, like what you were saying about Stipe, if he beats Stipe twice, you only look at resumes mainly for greatest of all time when you're arguing two people.
You have to.
You look at resumes because they don't have a fight against each other usually, or if they do, it's like yeah, but he was way past his prime. But this is Stipe's prime. This is DC's prime. Well, not really. DC's past his prime. So if DC can beat Stipe a little bit past his prime, to me then he's better than Stipe. It's hard for me to give Stipe the nod, even though he had a better resume, but he lost 2 fights to him. You can't give them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a valid point, and I like given my current situation, I don't have a laptop in front of me to see what DC's resume looks like at the in the heavyweight division, but beating Stipe twice obviously is huge. If you're saying that right now, I think it's universal that everyone would say Stipe is the greatest UFC heavyweight. And if DC beats him twice, obviously he gets some of that rub, some of that shine. But when you do look at his resume, DC, it's a short-lived time at heavyweight for him, and especially in the UFC. But short-lived time for him at heavyweight, and yeah, I mean that's really it for me. It's just a short-lived time at heavyweight. I'd like to see him, go on. If he fought Nagano, if he fought some of these other
for sure.
some of these other guys, Curtis Blades or whatever it was, maybe you could solidify him. But resume-wise, he doesn't stack up to Stipe. So, but I do think, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I do think if DC beats him, you got to put him as the greatest UFC heavyweight. But there is an argument there. Whereas on the Stipe side, if Stipe beats DC, there is no argument. It's like it's clear cut because he's already right now almost clear. Right now, you would say he's probably clear cut. The greatest UFC. He is clear cut. I don't know why I already said it. I don't know why I'm bouncing around. He is the clear cut, best UFC heavyweight right now. So,
you think DC's last fight? If he wins on Saturday night, do you think that this is Daniel Cormier's last fight ever that he will fight?
Gun to my head, I'm gonna say no.
Really?
I'm gonna say no. Yeah, because I think what will end up happening is let's say you have a year to mess around, because the thing that why I'm hesitant to say yes, this is his last fight, is because I feel like the UFC is going to give you a year to defend the title. If the UFC want a quick turnaround, which I don't think they want, if they want it, because the heavyweight division is a little bit muddy. Now, Francis 100% deserves it.
I'll cut you off real quick. Are you
Yeah.
saying they're not going to do Henry Cejudo, where he said he's retired and they take the title immediately? You're saying that DC is going to remain champion because and this is a good talking point as well. If DC remains champion, then the UFC has shown clear intentions to try to convince DC to stick around. If he does not remain champion, they might have a fucking vacant UFC title on 2 cards from.
Man, bro, this is such a tough question to answer. You can't see my legs. I'm fucking shaking them right now because I'm trying to it's a tough question.
That is tough. To me, I'll just cut you in what you think.
Yeah.
If DC is offered a ridiculous amount of money to fight John Jones, I think he'll be, if he's high on the victory, he might bite off a little bit. He might bite off maybe more than he can chew.
Yeah.
And he might take that risk because that would be the glory for him. If he wins that fight against John Jones at heavyweight, that will be the best possible way that Daniel Cormier could ever retire. But if he loses that fight, it is the worst possible way he could ever retire, because that's the guy who he could never beat. And it's just a constant reminder. Not only that guy moved up a division to fucking chop him down one more time.
Yeah.
In his final fight. So, and it would be amazing. It would do giant numbers for the UFC after Stipe, after his victory over Stipe. It makes John Jones finally making a lot more money again. I can see it happening. I can see DC's competitiveness getting the advantage, or
the best of him.
Getting the best of him. Thank you. But I just also, if guns to my head, I'm saying he's retired. I think they might offer him that fight, but I think he's a little bit more level-headed. He has so many other streams of income where he doesn't need that. And it would he's very clear with his intentions right now that he wants Stipe and he wants to be done. I don't think he wants that Jones fight.
Yeah, man, it's tough. I mean, if the UFC, and I think Okamoto had brought this up to Dana, if you throw a boatload of money at him, and he just said, listen, man, we're focused. In some variation, he said, we're focused on this fight, and when Tuesday rolls around, we'll figure out what's up. But he did say, Dana White did say that he does not think that DC's done, because this is what he said. He thinks if he wins, he feels like he could make that Jones versus Cormier fight, and if he loses, he says that his competitive nature will not allow him to go out with a loss. So, I guess, gun to my head, I will say that, he will defend the title. If he wins, he will defend the title. And my son, I don't think he wants Ngannou. He's not in that position. I mean, it's DC.
If they offer him Ngannou.
Yeah, it's only John Jones. I mean, and I think that, for the UFC, it satisfies multiple parties. With John Jones wants money, right? So you can offer him crazy money. DC's getting crazy money. You offer him a chance to right the wrong that happened at light heavyweight. And for the UFC, you're going to make a shit ton of money off of that fight. I mean, that legit is going to fall into the top 5 pay-per-views of all time of UFC. I would even say top 3, 100%. 100%. There's no question. No question. They're going to break some of Conor McGregor's, pay-per-views easily.
Yeah.
And
not breaking Khabib Conor. They're going to break men.
They're not breaking Khabib Conor. They're not breaking Mayweather Conor. But I don't even want to get in the weeds on this shit because I don't have the numbers in front of me given my situation right now. But just quickly, I will say they're going to offer him money. So I do think, and it gives him a year too. That's the other thing. The person I feel bad for in all of this shit, because I love the guy, and I legit think they keep fucking him over, is Ngannou. I mean, it's fucked up. I feel bad for Ngannou. I don't think it's right, but at the end of the day, if you can get fucking DC and John Jones at heavyweight, John Jones's debut at heavyweight against his arch nemesis, or really the other way around, it's DC's arch nemesis, considering the way the previous two fights went. Yeah, man, that's just gonna do crazy fucking numbers, and
I agree.
so
And speaking of Ngannou, this leads right into another thing about Stipe. Everyone's talking about DC. This is his last fight. I truly think that Stipe, if it comes down to it, if he loses this fight, he's going to take some time off. And even if he wins this fight, I think he's going to take some time off, because then they're going to offer him Ngannou. And if Ngannou doesn't take, or if Stipe doesn't take it, then they'll just offer Jones that fight. I think Jones is the third man out there. And I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "What? No, Jones. They'll offer Jones the Stipe fight." No, man. UFC's pissed at Jones. Ngannou is more than deserving at this point. They would just do the rematch first with Jones, or with Stipe and Ngannou, and then the Jones would be on the back burner if one of those two doesn't work out. But I truly think he's kind of done. I think he. GSP said it best, where people don't really realize that the champions, it's so hard to remain a champion in the UFC, because you have no fights off. Like, if you're a contender on the rise, you can fight. Let's look at Conor McGregor. He fought Diego Brandao, who's a super hot, super dangerous prospect, not even prospect, contender in the UFC. And then he fought Dennis Seaver in the next fight. And the Dennis Seaver fight was the one that gave him the number one contender spot. You get off fights when you're a contender. When you're the champion, there's no off fights. And Stipe, I think, is kind of tired of that. He's tired of this DC trilogy. And once this is over, I think he's going to need some time off. He's definitely not going to be ready for an Ngannou or Jones fight unless a lot of money is thrown at him. So, and I think he's happy in his life and he's stable as a firefighter. But that's my personal opinion. What do you think, Mean Gene?
I mean, as a new dad as well, I 100% feel like, he's all in with his family, and that's a good thing, And I just think his focus is on family and on the fire department. Of course, he's still a fighter at heart. He's said out of his own mouth. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and fucking speculate or call him a liar. He said that he is not retiring. He is going to fight again. But I do agree with you in the sense of he might take some time. And how long is that time? I don't know what it is. I don't know what the UFC is going to do ultimately. I don't know if they're going to offer, like, tell him, hey, man, you got to turn right around. You got to fight in November, December against Ngannou. And he's like, fuck that. I need another 9 months to a year off. And at that point, do they do an interim title? I don't know what they do, but at the end of the day, I agree with you. I do think that he is going to take some type of break, and whether that forces the UFC to make an interim title or not, that's you already know what I'm fucking saying. Remains to be seen. Thank you. But I think he'll take anyone. I think he'll take Ngannou. I think he'll take I think he'll take Jones again, or not again, but I think he'll take Jones, because I know that fight was kind of offered. Yeah. You can talk about that more if you want to. What DC had said, I didn't hear any of that shit, but I think he would take it 100%. But right now, I think if he beats DC, it's been a long 2.5 years or whatever it's been that these guys have been going through this shit, and I think he'll just take a break, and it's just up to the UFC to decide if a interim title is needed or if they can just wait. Because right now, Francis is clearly number one contender. He doesn't need to fight anyone else, nor will he fight anyone else.
He didn't even fight Rosenstrike. Huh? I said he didn't even have to fight Rosenstrike.
Oh, but he went out there because he's like, "Fuck it, I'll just do it. This fight is good for me. All I gotta do is, this guy's a stand-up fighter. I'm a stand-up fighter. Fuck it, I just gotta knock him out." So,
yeah, I agree that Ngannou, I worry. I do think he gets screwed over and all the time, especially with this DC Stipe situation, and then Jones being that guy who's coming up there, dipping his feet in the waters of heavyweight. But they do want to do that Ngannou and Jones fight. So I think if Stipe has a tough fight with DC, which I think it will be, And this is a perfect lead into talking about the fight itself. I do think it'll go all 5 rounds. It's going to be a very tough battle. It's going to be a big chess match. They've spent a lot of time in the ring together, and they've spent even way more time analyzing each other's fights, a ridiculous amount of time. Especially, I mean, Stipe that's 3 fights in a row with DC. Like that's 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
all in a row, which usually doesn't happen at all. It doesn't even happen with rematches a lot of times, but let alone trilogies. DC has 1 fight in between there with the Derek Lewis fight. That, I mean, the dude literally like that was just a quick and easy fight for Steve.
It was just a money fight. He was just a money grab, and also just helping the UFC out. They had I forget who fell through on that November card. I think wasn't it John Jones or something. I forget who fell through on that November card. So DC yeah,
they were about to headline that with Sijara Eubanks versus Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah, someone fell out. I can't remember actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure it was Dustin Poirier versus Nate Diaz is what it was, but I might be wrong.
Okay.
Anyways, doesn't matter. But
so yeah, and he did a favor for the UFC there. Yeah. But my point is that that's a trilogy that with very few 1 fight in between on both fighters.
Yeah.
So they've just, to them, they got to be exhausted with each other. And for Stipe and DC, I think this is just, once they close this chapter, and mainly what I'm talking about is Stipe, I think he's just going to want, if he's offered that fight with Ngannou, it's just going to be like, man, right back into the pit. I just spent ridiculous amount of time on this project, and now you're giving me another massive project that I have to turn in by November. I have to turn in by December. And he just might, in my opinion, I think he's just going to be like, listen, I need a year off. Go ahead and do a vacant belt. Go ahead and do an interim. I'll come back ready, but I just need a year off. I have a new family. Let me just chill out for a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. But also, he could just go right in there and defend the belt. Either way, that's just my personal thought. And in the case that he does do that, I think Ngannou will fight Jones for that interim belt.
Agreed. I'm glad you brought that up. I think let me say this: if DC wins and he truly is retired, I still think they do Ngannou versus Jones. I don't think they give Stipe the shot at the title, man. I really don't.
I think if Stipe he for sure takes time off, I think there's less of a chance if he wins. But
Okay.
I think, yeah, no, I agree with you. I think if he loses that fight, they'll definitely do Jones and
Because a lot of people I've heard, whether it's the media or MMA Twitter, mainly MMA Twitter, I should say. I shouldn't say media. Is if Stipe loses, like whatever, he's right back in there because DC retires. He's right back in there and gets the next title shot. I don't think that. I think what ends up happening, he loses. I think he takes a little hiatus. / even the UFC is just like, listen, man, we need a fresh matchup. We're gonna go, Ngannou versus Jones or whoever. It might even be Lewis. I could see him trying to do Lewis again. And he's on a nice little run. And I believe in Lewis, actually, man, especially after that against that Oleinik. I mean, that literally was a contrast of styles, and he took Oleinik out. But what I really would like to see is Derek Lewis versus Curtis Blades, because they have not fought each other. And Curtis Blades is obviously going to just try to take DC down. I mean, DC, try to take Lewis down, which he should be able to, but you never know. That's like the true test. If Lewis could get through, fucking Curtis Blades, I mean, I feel like that solidifies him for the title shot.
I agree.
But anyways,
Yeah. So,
move on.
Yeah, let's just move down the card real quick. So we got Sugar Sean, not Sugar Sean O'Malley taking on Marlon Chito Vera. And who do you got in this fight? Mainly, we'll talk about the fight itself, but is this Sugar Show for real? Do you think that I know we were mentioning before the podcast, this might be his coming out party. To me, it reminds me of the Diego Brandao fight versus Conor McGregor, where I think once he won that fight, he knocked out Diego Brandao the way he did. It really showed the world, okay, this guy is for real. This guy legitimately is a title contender. And what do you think about that? Do you think that is this fight for Sean O'Malley? Do you think it's a little bit too early to be saying that if he does win this fight? What do you think about this?
Yeah, not at all. I think first of all, I have to give it up to the UFC right now. I feel like the way they have progressed Sean O'Malley's career has been immaculate. I feel like it is a blueprint for blue chip prospects. Um, Whereas I know I talked about this in the last podcast, like the Aaron Picos, like Bellator fucked up with Aaron Pico. Um,
Yeah,
they threw him to the wolves. Now they're learning from it. Even whether you like what she does on IG or whatever the fuck, but was it Latuda? The chick that is always dancing Bellator. Yeah, like they're doing a good job of just like slowly pushing her along.
yeah.
Same thing I felt like they did wrong with Michael Page, Venom Page. They push him along way too fast, and then all of a sudden they realize fuck, and then they drop him back, and he's fighting some bum. It's not a good look when you're doing that. The UFC, I feel like, man, kudos to them when it comes to Sean O'Malley, Contender Series. What they fight? What the fuck is his name? Quinones. Then he fought. It doesn't matter. I'm not saying he fought him after Contender Series, but just the progression. He fought. I can't pronounce his fucking name. Quinones or whatever the fuck his name is. Was a good fight for him. But let's get to the last two. Let me just get to the last two, so I'm not sitting here fucking stumbling. I don't have my computer in front of me, so I don't have his previous fights. But the big one was like Eddie Wineland. Like that was a good fight for him. Give him a vet, a tough, crafty, hardcore vet that has been there before. Can kind of take punches. He has a weak chin, but can kind of take punches. Will stand up with them. He fucking starched them. And then now you give him Chito Marlon Vera, which this dude is 7 he's won his last 7. Guys are gonna say 6-1. He won his last 7. I'll repeat myself again because he won his last fucking fight, and you can see that the UFC believes he won his last fight. Let's go through this again. Totally different topic. Aldo lost to Marlon Moraes. Nah, not in the UFC's eyes. We're giving you a title fight. Chito Vera lost to Edson Barbosa. Nah, we're giving you the fucking co-main event against Sean O'Malley, which I'm liking that because that goes back to a previous podcast that you and I had, and I think you brought this up, and it was on Twitter where you're like, hey, the UFC, and I didn't like what you said. I disagree with it. Where like the UFC needs to have their own, like Nevada can say that fighter A won, but the UFC says no, fighter B won. It muddies the waters. You really can't do that, but at least
That's not how I explained it, but yeah.
Well, whatever I'm simplifying it, but what I'm saying to you, what I'm saying to you is like this is an example of the UFC doing kind of what you said. Although clearly, in most of the fighters' eyes, in most of the media's eyes, and Twitter's eyes, Aldo won that fight. So they like, fuck it, we're going to treat you as if you won that fight against Marlon Moraes. And then vice versa with this fight with Chito Vera. Normally you're coming off a loss, you're going to fight someone that has a loss. No, they're giving them a fucking co-main event. It's not even like, hey, we're giving you someone that won. We're giving you a co-main event against our top prospect. And so it goes to show you what type of fighter Vera is. And in this fight, man, it's dangerous for O'Malley. O'Malley's going to be tested. Vera can grapple. Vera is going to pressure you. And man, this is O'Malley's toughest test. Perfect progression for him as a fighter. And I'm just excited to see this fight go down on Saturday night. If you're asking me for a pick, Sean O'Malley fucking starches him. That's what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to win inside the distance. I think he's going to knock him out, but maybe he rocks him. Chito tries to, go for a double leg, and then fucking O'Malley throws a submission on him. I don't foresee O'Malley submitting him, but only in that scenario where Chito's hurt, gets desperate, and then O'Malley's able to fucking, throw on a submission. But yeah, man, I believe 100% O'Malley. I believe that he is on the path of a Conor McGregor where sky's the limit for this kid. But he's more humble. The thing I respect about this kid, and a lot of people hate him. You can say what you want to say about him dyeing his hair, the Ecuadorian colors, and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, the kid he's humble, man. Like, he put out a video about Cody Garbrandt trying to show how Cody Garbrandt knocked his opponent out versus him, and calling Cody Garbrandt that he's soft and all this other shit. Hey man, it's a fucking fight. I'll wrap it up because I've been rambling. But it's a fight game, man. Of course you're gonna fucking. There's always gonna be shit talking, but he doesn't go over the line. I think this guy is humble. He's only gotten better over over the past 2-3 years, especially with the USADA suspension. He's gotten better, and I think at the end of the day, this is his fucking coming out party, and you better jump on that fucking train right now, man. Legitimately, you better jump on that train because I'm gonna tell you right now, and you know this, and you can back me up on this shit. I called Khabib, I called Conor, I called a lot of fucking fighters coming up, and I'm calling Sean O'Malley. This kid is fucking legit, dude, super legit. So you better jump on that train now.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like I was mentioning earlier, Mean Gene and I talk on the phone, of course, and I was talking to Mean Gene earlier and saying that Conor McGregor wrote the book on how to become a star, and there's two aspects. There's your fights and your
important.
Yeah, the fights
are most important.
They are important, yeah, and they're 60-40. And then there's your promotional ability, your marketing of yourself, and your smack talk, your wit. You can be not the most quick-witted guy. Like, look at the Diaz brothers; they have exciting fights, and they say crazy stuff, but they're not like witty. They're just who they are, and people like them for that. Even Mike Perry, stuff like that. Where the guys have exciting fights means 60% of your star power. And if you can have quick knockouts like Sean O'Malley is doing, or like we saw Conor McGregor have, that's number one in that 60%. Quick knockouts will get you the most fans. People will look at you, wow, this dude ends fights quick. This is great. This is exciting he's always exciting to watch. It ends quick. You can't blink. You have to watch the whole fight. Then number two is then your marketability, and he's good at marketing himself. No, he's not a Conor McGregor in marketability. And where we see this 40%, Chael Sonnen was able to carry this 40% his whole career. He was so great at marketing. He wasn't the best fighter. He did what was done at the time. You get a takedown at a round in Chael Sonnen's prime, and that you win the round even if you were losing standing up the whole time. Where Chael Sonnen wasn't that fun of a fighter, wasn't really the most elite of fighters. But he was able to smack talk and make his way using that 40%, but he never got close to the star power of Conor McGregor, even though he's way more witty and better at marketing himself arguably than Conor McGregor is. But he just didn't have the fights and stuff to back it up. And that's what I mean with Sean O'Malley. He has both, so we have a potential big star in our hands. But I don't think we'll see him, like you're saying, to talk about your point. I totally agree with you. I do think he is a big star. I don't know if he's not going to get to the level, and I think you agree with me on this. He'll never get to the level of Conor McGregor. There's a very special type of marketability you have to have for that, but he'll definitely get there. He's definitely going to be a big star and one of the pay-per-view leaders as he grows into a championship contender.
So quickly on that, I mean, I feel like it's too early to say that. Obviously, with the gap right now, Conor's fucking sprinted out and he is where he's at. So it's hard, these fighters coming up for you to say, yeah, project him to be like Conor McGregor or surpass him. Obviously is going to get some, negative reactions. I mean, it's like, you're crazy. How can you say he's going to ever be Conor McGregor because of what Conor has already done and where he's at? But if there is anyone in the UFC, I do feel like Sean O'Malley could do that. The one thing I really do respect about him is I love the guy, like legitimately, dude. I mean, I called Khabib just between me and you. This isn't like everyone that's listening to us. They don't fucking know. They're like, yeah, of course you called Khabib, dude. Whatever. I called Khabib. Yeah. And that Gustafsson, I even remember telling my wife about that shit. On that card when we watched Gustafsson, Jones won, and Khabib was on the undercard. and telling her like, man, this is the guy. Fucking watch this dude. This dude's a beast. He's gonna be a future star and a champion. And but with Sean O'Malley, what I'm saying is, the thing I respect about him is he's humble. He's very good. He works in the gym. He wants to get better. He's humble, and he has his own niche, man. Whether it's the weed culture, whether it's the fucking, here comes the fucking comment again, these fucking guys. This is what makes me think that these motherfuckers ain't really comment. It's the street smarts, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Never trust a motherfucker. I don't know if these guys really are fucking comment. But anyways,
Mean Gene put on the
no, real man, 100% walking up and down the neighborhood with fucking flashlights. Fucking anyways, no, I feel like with this kid, I feel like he's legit, man. He has a star power there, and oh, that's what I was gonna tell you. The one thing that I do like about this dude. Give me 1 second. Hey, what are you guys doing? You guys just like, what are you guys trying to do?
We're trying to come down and get all the wire replaced.
Okay.
And then hopefully, so we're just kind of walking down each pole to see if there's anything else, but I think it's just the wire that needs to get replaced.
Okay, cool.
All right, we're back. Jimmy
yes.
had to deal with ComEd real quick.
Yeah, sorry about that, man. I had to make sure it was ComEd. You never know.
So about Sean O'Malley, you were about to bring up something about fighter pay.
Yeah. So the thing I really like about Sean O'Malley, hey, he is his own fighter. He has his own niche. Hey, Conor was cool too, and then he got all the stardom money, started fucking all these other bitches and cheating on his girlfriend and doing coke and all this crazy shit. So money can change anyone, and fame really can change anyone. So who knows what's gonna happen with Sean O'Malley? But right now at this point, what I'm saying is like this kid's super humble. Super talented, and he wants to get better. He was out for 2 years with USADA, and he came back, and it's been spectacular. And now he's got himself in a fucking co-main event, bro. This is crazy. I know you're laughing at me like because of my reaction, but this dude is in the fucking co-main event under DC Stipe when it really should be fucking Rosenstrike and Dos Santos should be the co-main event. He's jumping these guys. It's just, don't even shake your head, dude. I'm telling you, like the majority of like MMA Twitter and the media, when that first came out, the bout lineup, they're like, what the fuck is this shit? Why is this kid above? But what I'm saying is like you see what the UFC thinks of this kid. But let me just get back to my point, and I'll let you talk. What I'm saying is the thing with Sean O'Malley that I really like, he's a star. UFC's pumping him up, co-main event, but Sean O'Malley's like, fuck you, pay me my fucking money, dude. So he's not sugarcoat shit. He's on no DC bullshit. He has no quarrels about talking about the lack of pay that he's receiving. He has no quarrels about the lack of pay he's receiving in the sense of his Reebok deal. I just heard him on an interview with fucking Aaron Bronstetter, and he was talking about that. He doesn't shy away from saying, I'm not getting paid enough. We're being underpaid for fucking with our uniform. And yeah, man, I love that about him. We'll see if it continues. And the one thing that I really respected about him is him saying before the Eddie Wineland fight, they were saying, hey, why aren't you fight? Like, do you feel like the UFC is pushing you along too slow? Don't you want to jump up and fight some guy in the top 15? And he's like, no, man, I need to be paid to fight a guy in the top 15. Like right now, what my contract isn't good enough to fight guys in the top 15. So I respect that as well. Yeah. So at the end of the day, man, I love this kid, man. Like legitimately love, as much as I loved Conor coming up. And I know I'm a Conor hater to a degree in your eyes. And that we can get into that later. There's a lot of reasons why I am now. Yeah, man, I love Sean O'Malley, and I think he's going to get it done on Saturday.
Yeah, so really quick, right after this, we're gonna go right into our picks. But just to respond to that, I do think it's kind of funny you bring up the Conor McGregor. I do think the money might change Sean O'Malley. We've already heard it he has had a long-term girlfriend. He was on Brendan Schaub. I know everyone talks about that. Was a little bit strange how he talked about their open relationship because of his already the fame that he's getting. And so we'll see. I do think Sean O'Malley, I worry that he might fall into that with his star power, that he might fall into the woes of being rich or the woes of getting wealthy quickly. But that being said, I do think he is a star and he'll get to that point. So I do agree with you. I just think it's in my mind I'm laughing just because it is funny that the fans see you so much as a hater of Conor McGregor. I think it is. I know you say I say that, but I think it is objective that you dislike Conor McGregor. But it's funny because I remember the time.
But you know why though? That the key is
I know why.
Yeah.
My point is that I understand. It's just funny to see because I also remember how much you liked him when he was on his way out. So yeah, it is just it's funny to see because it's like Sean O'Malley, and I do feel like he would fall into something like that. So I wonder 5 years BP Mean Gene MMA show. I mean, his beard will be fully gray at that point. And then Mean Gene saying, "Yeah, fuck Sean O'Malley," due to the
Yeah, and let me just say this really super quick, and I literally knocked this out in 1 minute. I just because I don't want the misperception of my stance on. I don't want a misperception of my stance on Conor McGregor. My big thing is it's not that like, hey, like that fucking underground band that you got. No one else knows about this underground band, and then they blow up to be big, and you're like, man, fuck them. You know, they sold out. It has nothing to do with that.
yeah.
It's clear, like, hey, this guy was on the rise, killing fucking, killing it and knocking guys out and rising up. But it just got to a point where it's like, and then he went for the money. I have no problem with that as combat passes. It makes me feel better that I'm seeing the combat trucks with these guys walking around. Conor McGregor, I have no problem going for the money, the Mayweather or anything like that. It's just simply put, like when you got back into MMA, when you got back into the UFC, and then you're saying like you want to be, I want to get back to mixed martial arts aspect of the sport. I want to get the title. I want it like that type of shit. He didn't show it. You know, it was like, hey man, get back out there and fight the Dustin Poiriers, fight the Tony Fergusons. You know, fight these guys to get back. Like everyone else that is in the UFC, and he wasn't doing that. And it's like you can't have your cake and eat it too, unfortunately, man. And you're seeing that now. He's being frozen out by the UFC. Dana saying he's not going to fight until 2021. Like, listen, man, if you really want to fight, you got to fight the guys that are at the top of the division. You're not going to skip these guys and then fight Khabib, and it's just not going to happen. So that's my issue with it. It's like, love them up to the point of the stardom, and then when he started trying to just pick and choose his fights, it was like, I understand why you're doing that. I understand your star power and things of that nature, but it's like once you lost, I guess what I'm saying is the thing that really bothered me, I'll be honest with you, and I'll truly end this on this because we don't want to get in the weeds with this shit. We're trying to focus on 252. But seriously, once he lost it, I didn't like that he got that fight against Khabib, but whatever. He was the former. But once he lost to Khabib, and then he's like, I want the immediate rematch, and then I want all this other shit. I'm gonna skip the line, and Tony's there, all this other shit. That's when it all went by the wayside for me. It was like, listen, man, you lost to the title holder. You got your ass fucking whooped. You won one round, and then you get choked out, and then now you're trying to like jump. You want the immediate rematch / when that doesn't even get delivered to you. Now you want to jump the line. Then you don't fight for like 1.5 to 2 years, and then you're not fighting Justin Gaethje. Then you want to like, it's all this bullshit. That's when it really bothered me. So I'm done. That because I just don't want it to be perceived as like this. Hey, you love this guy coming up, then you got fame and you got fame, money, and now you just like fuck them like a lot of people will do. It has nothing to do with that. I'm not that type of person. So
yeah, no, I get that. I think anyone who's listened to us knows that. It's just, and we'll get more into Conor McGregor. I'm not even going to respond.
Yeah, my bad, man. I took over the podcast.
No, you're good. We have that Conor McGregor. Maybe that's a good advertisement. Mean Gene and I go really deep on a Conor McGregor talk. We just did it. We've been talking about it for a while, and that is a bonus episode that will be released soon. I have it edited. Just looking for a good week to release it because I don't want to overload you guys with the podcast. So that'll be out, and that's cut off from episode 12 or 13, one of the two. So maybe that was a good advertisement. I'm not going to respond much to me.
Okay, cool.
For that, but we'll go right into the picks. So again, we already just had like an hour and a half or an hour of talking about all this other stuff. Just going to go right through the picks. Plus, like I said before, you guys don't come here for the picks. You guys come here to hear us talking about current events in MMA. So let's just go through the fights. Kai Kamaka at -220 versus Tony Kelly at +185. Who do you got in that fight, Mean Gene?
Fuck, my notes are on my phone. So, but no, it doesn't matter. From what I remember, that's not even what I remember. I already know this shit, but I want to get more detailed. Kai Kamaka, he just fought like a week or two ago, way more active than his opponent. I'm going with him, simply put.
Okay. Yeah. And I agree. I got Kai Kamaka in that fight as well. We got Parker Porter at -119 versus Chris Daukaus at -101. I got Parker Porter. Who do you got, Mean Gene?
Parker Porter. I got Parker Porter. I feel like he's a better all-around fighter, better striking, and honestly, the main thing is better defense on the feet. This is literally a coin flip fight, but I got Parker Porter.
In the next fight, we got Livia Renato Souza at -152 versus Ashley Yoder at +132. I got Souza. Who do you got, Mean Gene?
I got Souza as well. And what is with Yoder for me is Yoder, when she gets into compromising positions, she tends to just kind of wilt. You know, she'll just ball up. Let her opponents take her back, things of that nature. I just think Souza's going to end up taking her to the ground and getting a submission.
Okay, next fight we got TJ Brown at -151 versus Danny Chavez at +131. Who do you got in this fight, Mean Gene?
I got Danny Chavez. Danny Chavez is for sure the better striker on the feet. TJ is the and he's a favorite because of the wrestling. At the end of the day, MMA, you feel like the guy. Huh?
Who did you say you got?
I got Chavez. And the reason why, like I said, is that Chavez is the underdog. TJ's got the grappling, and in MMA, typically when you got a good grappler, the odds are going to lean towards him because you can control the fight. But I think Chavez 100% is better on the feet, and I think TJ. I think from the fights that he's fought in, man, he gets rocked, dude. Even in the fights that he wins, losing, whatever it is, he's getting rocked. And I feel like Chavez is the better striker, a better defensive fighter. And as long as he can just stop the takedown / just get up, I feel like he's gonna win this fight. He's gonna rock TJ. So I'm gonna go with the underdog in Chavez.
Okay, yeah, I'm sticking with TJ Brown. I like the grappler. When in doubt, I'm gonna go with the grappler over the striker. Usually,
I'm okay with that.
Unless it's a super dangerous striker, which I don't think Chavez is in terms of power. But in this next fight, we got Verna Jandiroba versus Felice Herrig. Jandiroba is -290. Felice Herrig is +250. I got Jandiroba. How about you, G?
Same thing with me. No question. Felice Herring. You hear that dog in the background?
Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever. Just deal with it. Felice Herring has been out for a year and a half to 2 years with an ACL injury. She does not like to be taken down to the ground. She likes standing up. Diroba is amazing on the ground. I think she'll end up, getting Felice Herring to the ground and submitting her.
Okay.
That's who I got.
Okay, perfect. So we both got John Diroba in that fight. And then, or it might be Jan Diroba. Either way. Then we got Vince Pichel at -125 versus Jim Miller at +105. I got Jim Miller. I always think he's game, and I think he can definitely grab a submission in this fight. Who do you got in this fight, Mean Gene?
I got Vince. I think it was a great performance by Jim Miller in his last fight against Roosevelt Roberts. And but the issue with him a lot of times is, man, he okay, now there's like 4 or 5 guys. So now I feel way more comfortable with the comment. There's there's a ton of them now. Anyways, and I apologize for this, man. Literally, like I said, no power. I got my dog barking in the fucking background and comment walking through the neighborhood at fucking, what time is it? 12:23 Chicago time. So
Complete.
past a little past midnight. Anyways, in regards to this fight, I got Vince Pichella, or Vince, whatever the fuck his last name is. I just feel like Jim Miller likes to alternate wins often. Vince is the better, more well-rounded striker. Jim Miller he gasses in the second, third round. If Jim Miller doesn't win in the first round, Vince has got this. I think he'll pick him apart on the feet and just win a decision. He'll take the second, third round. I mean, shit, he could take all 3 rounds. But what I'm saying is, like, Jim Miller's path to victory is in that first round. And Vince is a tough fucking fighter, man. Game fighter. And he's a small favorite. And I can be honest with you, I'm probably going to take him personally. I'm not going to put him in my official picks, but I probably will take him on the side, like as the fight's about to start or whatever. I like to do that. But yeah, I got Vince, man. I just think Jim Miller man. He got lucky with that Roosevelt Roberts submission. Roosevelt tripped, got him to the ground, and Roosevelt fucked up. I don't know what Roosevelt was doing with the armbar. So I got Vince.
Okay. Yeah. In the next fight, we got Merab Dvalishvili. I think Dvalishvili. I think is how
you said it perfectly. Dvalishvili.
Okay, Dvalishvili. I think you're supposed to emphasize the ish, but either way, he's at minus 240 versus John Dodson at plus 205.
Let me go first.
Yeah.
Let me go first.
Go ahead. All right, go ahead.
All right, you go first. My bad. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say I got John Dodson. I'm taking the underdog. I'm taking the underdog. He's super game, and this is why he's game. He's lost, but he's lost to Piotr Jan. He's lost to Marlon Moraes. He's lost to Demetrius Johnson. He lost to, I think, John Lineker was a fight he lost, and then Jimmy Rivera is his other fight that he lost. He only loses to the absolute elite. Dvalishvili, the most elite fighter he's fought so far is Brad Katona, and he got a unanimous decision win on that. He lost to Ricky Simone. I just feel like Dvalishvili is a great contender coming up off of 4 wins in a row. To me, man, I think a lot of people sleep on Dodson. The dude, he is a beast. He's full of energy. It was a great guy coming out of – he won coming out of Ultimate Fighter. And I truly think he's going to be – he still is somebody who's a game competitor. I don't think he's ever wins a title. But, yeah, I don't think he's ready to accept that gatekeeper role. And at plus 205, we'll get into it on the betting, but I think people are forgetting a lot about John Dodson.
Okay, so I got Dvalishvili, and I pronounced his name. I fucked up his name. I know it because I'm literally looking at a screen with your face. I normally have my computer on the side where I can fucking look at their records and look at their name. So I got him. But anyways, the Dodson pick is not a bad pick on your end, 100%. I mean, I do think the line is a little bit too big, 100%. I think it should be more. And then we're gonna get to this we didn't even get to Sean. Did we get to Sean O'Malley?
No, that's a cool.
No, we're going up next.
No, 2 more.
Or whatever in 2 fights. But even to Sean O'Malley, like you're about to see, when I explain that, with the odds are just too wide. And with the Dodson, I think it's too wide. Dvalishvili, say it again. Say his name real quick.
Dvalishvili.
The line's too big, man. I feel like it could probably be, what's he at to what? What's he plus?
Dvalishvili is minus 240 and Dodson is plus 205.
Yeah, crazy, man. I probably go minus, what I would say is like minus 205, minus 210, and Dodson, plus like 180, 175, that type of thing. So listen, Dodson is a live dog, 100%. If you bet on Dodson, I don't fault you. For you picking Dodson, I don't fault you. Let's go through the resume. Knocked out Nathaniel Wood. Spectacular fashion. Nathaniel Wood, one of UFC's top prospects, just got a win recently in the past like 2 or 3 events. He Peter Yan. What do you do against him? He fucking knocked him down in one of the rounds and gave him, a very tough fight. John Dotson's game, bro. He's he is a gatekeeper in my mind, and then you see it. Here we go again with the UFC. It's typical matchmaking. You have the young, hungry prospect against the vet gatekeeper, and so and the young guy's trying to make his name off the vet. I love the matchmaking once again. Dotson can win, but I got Dvalishvili, if I pronounce his name correctly, whatever. I just think that, man, this dude, he strings together takedowns, and Dotson will probably stop the first takedown. Dvalishvili gets the second takedown. He stops the third takedown. Dvalishvili gets the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth takedown. I just think he's relentless. In a small cage, 25 feet, I feel like he's going to be able to put it on to Dotson and just fucking pressure him, take him down. Dotson's going to he'll stuff some of the takedowns, but I think at the end of the day, Dvalishvili is going to end up just getting the unanimous decision victory over Dotson because of his relentless takedowns. And Dotson's just, at some point, he's just going to wilt. But Dotson can easily KO this dude. And he's a live dog, man. That's why I'm not betting on it. I don't feel confident taking. I feel confident taking Dvalishvili. I would not bet on him. It's an avoid for me, but the side that you would want to bet on if you're going to bet is Dotson 100%. I mean, that's the way to go. I'm not going to, but that's the way to go.
All right, in the next fight, we got Herbert Burns at -255 versus Daniel Pineda at +215, and I just got the low battery sign. I got Herbert Burns at -255. I'm just gonna grab you're good. I'm just gonna grab my chargers right over here. But you
go ahead.
You can go ahead and so I don't know if you have anything on the fight, but either way,
I do.
Who you got in this fight?
Grab that damn charger. And you look at that beautiful logo. Look at that fucking logo by Jacob from MMA All Access or All Access MMA. It's just fucking beautiful. Jesus Christ. Thank you, Jacob. Anyways, I got Herbert Burns. I think Pineda's coming off the PFL. He failed the drug test in PFL. I don't know how you do that. It's not like UFC testing. They're not testing as hardcore in the PFL, so this dude was really fucking juicing in the PFL. He comes over against Herbert Burns. Let me say this again: this line is pretty fucking crazy big. Pineda is a very good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. Obviously, Herbert Burns. I don't need to say anything more about that. That dude is a fucking beast, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. I got Herbert Burns. I think that he ends up finishing Pineda. Herbert Burns came over on the weight, whatever it was. He's forfeiting some of his purse because he was overweight, so it's a catch-weight fight. But I just think Herbert Burns, man, he can do it on the feet or on the ground. I feel like Pineda's a good fighter. I don't believe he's ever been finished. I'm pretty damn sure he has not been finished. So I do feel like, just from a betting perspective, I know we're not getting into hardcore betting, but at this part of the podcast. But yeah, man, inside the distance for either of these guys, I think is 100% the way to go. I don't think this fight goes the distance. I got Herbert Burns.
Okay, yeah. I'll just give a really quick take on it, and then we'll move on. Since we are in the main card, Herbert Burns. I just feel like it more goes so on the Daniel Pineda. The past 2 or 3 PFL guys we've seen crossover have not been successful. Especially Felipe Lins is the one most stuck in people's minds. Didn't look good in either of his fights. So I don't have much faith in the PFL guys coming over at the moment. I do think in the lighter weight classes they might have a little bit more success, but I don't see Pineda doing well against Burns, who is established to be a good contender coming up. So I definitely got Burns in this fight. And at that line, yeah, I can't see. Yeah, we'll talk about betting a little bit. But do you got anything else? Moving on. Speaking of, real quick, that's the other thing I want to bring up. That logo. I see Mean Gene over here talking about the logo. As soon as I leave, My face is gone. Oh, now this side of the screen is beautiful. So in the next fight, we got Jairzinho Rozenstruik at -122 versus Junior Dos Santos at +102. I got Jairzinho Rozenstruik in this fight. Junior Dos Santos is coming off that loss off of Blades, I believe it was, and Ngannou. Either way, he had both of those.
It's Blades.
It was Blades, yeah. So
I think. Go ahead and check that, please. We talked about that earlier.
yeah, I believe it's Blades, but either way, he's coming off of two knockout. It is Blades, yeah, two knockout. Exactly how we said it. Francis Ngannou, he lost. Then he fought Curtis Blades, lost. So that's two fights in a row of him getting knocked out. It's not going to go well. I know Jairzinho Rozenstruik just got knocked out by Ngannou in devastating fashion as well, but yeah, it's before that he was knocking people out. He had 10 of 11 knockouts in his victories, and which he had 11 fights and 11 victories before that fight against Ngannou. So I'm gonna stop rambling on. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, I think he knocks out Junior Dos Santos, and this is a good pick when we get later for doing it inside the distance or just fight ending by finish, however you bet. It definitely isn't going all 3 rounds. What do you think, Mean Gene?
Jairzinho, got him all day. I'm surprised by the line, to be honest with you. I feel like it should be a little bit bigger. Like a -175 instead of a 122, 130 that you're seeing in other books. Obviously, if Dos Anjos, his path to victory is fucking grappling. Obviously, to get in on Rozenstruik, try to take him down, because Rozenstruik is just fucking terrible. We saw that against Overeem, taken down at will and dominate on the ground. So that's a path to victory for Dos Santos. But in all reality, he's not. That's not Dos Santos anymore. I mean, he's not doing that. He's standing up and he's striking, and he's looked good. Don't get me wrong, especially at his age, he's looked good on the feet, but he ain't gonna look good against Rozenstruik, man. I can tell you that right now. This dude is fucking legit kickboxer. I think he's gonna piece up fucking Dos Santos' legs, and then I think at the end of the day, he's just gonna knock him out. And I'm not willing to take that bet because I believe it's like -1. I believe it's like -300 something for Rozenstruik to win inside the distance, or for it to not go the distance, or whatever the fuck it is. But I do have Rozenstruik. I just think at the end of the day, man, like, he is the better fighter. Like, legitimately has way more power than Dos Santos, and he's more aggressive, as you saw against Ngannou. Where did it end up getting him? Got him fucking knocked the fuck out against Ngannou. But who is going against Ngannou and not getting knocked out recently? But the thing I liked about his balls. I like that he was like, fuck it, I'm just going to go after this dude. He was throwing haymakers. He can do that against Dos Santos, and he's okay. Yeah. I feel like he can do the same strategy that he had against Ngannou against Dos Santos, and he'd be okay if Dos Santos starts throwing haymakers too. He can take it. He's not Ngannou. So I'm going to Rozenstruik, and, man, at minus fucking – you're going to see in whatever 5-10 minutes, man. Right. At -122, I'm taking him. I don't even care if I lose – I mean, obviously I care if I lose, but I'm just saying, like, that's a value bet. You're getting the better fighter. You're getting the heavier hands fighter, just an all-around better fighter, kicking. The guy's a fucking kickboxer, better leg strikes. You're getting it for -122. Yeah, I'm taking Rozenstruik, man.
Yeah,
because that line was 150. It was like 150, 160, and now it's down to like 122, 130. Like, yeah, man, I'm taking Rozenstruik. I'm fading the public. I'm going against the public on this.
Yeah, I agree. I think Rozenstruik definitely takes out that victory. The only thing that I can see, and maybe why that line is dropping, is how he'll react against the Ngannou loss. Is he going to be more tentative? We'll see, but I agree. In general, you can't put a number behind that. His tentativeness. If anyone, perfect example is no one would have guessed that Ngannou would have reacted that way against Derek Lewis. The smarter bet would have been to bet on Ngannou against Derek Lewis in that fight. You can't.
Yes.
You can't predict those things. So if Rosenstrike does show up like that, then maybe you'll lose that bet. But you can't expect that, and I do expect Rosenstrike to come out as a game contender and bring it to Junior Dos Santos. So if he shows up tentative, he shows up tentative. But that's the only little niche I can put in there or caveat. In the next fight, we got Sean O'Malley at minus 265 versus Marlon Vera at plus 225. As we already mentioned, we don't even have to get into this fight because we already talked about it. Sean O'Malley for sure. I got. Who do you got, Mean Gene?
I got Marlon.
Okay.
No, I got Sean O'Malley, man. I feel like he'll get it done inside the distance. I already said this.
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna be a knockout, but if he ends up rocking Cheeto and then submits him with a guillotine or a rear naked choke, I wouldn't be surprised by that. But this kid is the truth, man. He is the future of the UFC. All the haters suck a dick. Because legit, man, he's got haters, man. It's crazy. Some of these MMA media members, like, they don't like that he's fucking dyeing his hair. I mean, dude, it's all part of the game, man. I like that he's dyeing his hair instead of fucking saying disparaging things against the guy's country or his race, his fucking religion, like some other fighters, i.e., even though I love, again, Conor McGregor, I do like him. But, like, it's not getting into that fucking realm. Like, dude, it's a fight game. People say some crazy shit. And he's not even doing that. He's dyeing his fucking hair in the colors of the Ecuadorian flag. So, at the end of the day, this guy's the truth. He's the future. Like I said, all the haters can suck a dick. And this kid's going to get it done. And, man, just look for him to – like I said, he's not going to get a title shot. But, yeah, man, he's going to get – I wouldn't be surprised if he got a title shot. But – He'll definitely get top 5 after this win.
There you guys have it. Mean Gene declaring his stand-up. I did pronounce that correctly, of Sean O'Malley. I do think that I agree with you. The only thing, I don't even think it's worth addressing the haters. Anybody who's good at anything, there's haters. That's just the society we live in. That's fine. Whatever. Moving on from those people. In the next fight, we got Daniel.
Let me just say one thing before you get into that, because I have to make this caveat. I don't want this to seem like, hey, man, you're just fucking hedging your bet. But I will just say that this line is too big. Let me be honest. As like a true MMA fan and analysis of fights, it's too big. It should not be. Would you say, what was the line on this again? 260 to
5 versus Cheeto Vera plus 225.
Yeah, man. Like, it's too big. Like, Cheeto is legit. In my eyes, he's won 7 in a row. I know he lost to Barboza, but majority of people feel like he won. Like I said, like the Aldo versus Moraes situation. So, essentially, he's won 7 in a row. Yeah, man.
On the card. Yeah.
Pardon me?
Second biggest line on the card.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's too big of a line. I feel like it should be more where O'Malley's more like a 200 to 210. And then Marlon maybe like a 1 plus 175, 180, that type of thing. I don't want to get into weeds on this, but just simply put, like, man, this line is too big, and the value is on Cheeto. The only value is, and we'll get into this because this is one of my bets, but, you have to approach O'Malley from a different perspective, not just straight up win. So at the end of the day, I just want you guys to know, like, this is O'Malley's toughest test to date. Great matchmaking on the part of the UFC, and if he gets through this dude, which I think he will, man, sky's the limit for this kid.
Okay, yeah, I agree. And speaking of lines, let's go with the closest line from the odds makers in the next fight in the main event. We got Daniel Cormier at minus 116 versus Stipe Miocic at minus 104. I definitely got DC. We talked about this even more. I definitely got DC in this fight. I think that DC, in the first fight, we saw Daniel Cormier knock out Stipe Miocic. Okay. Stipe was winning that first round up to that point, so we didn't see as much in that fight. But then it was up to Stipe in the second fight to prove to me, the fan, and to all of you guys as the fans, that he is a better fighter. And he proved to me that he was able to make an adjustment to win the fight, but I don't think he proved to me that he is a better fighter. and DC won 3 rounds, 3.5, you could argue. But DC's won 4 out of the 5 rounds that they fought, or 5 out of the 6 rounds, whatever it is. To me, I just see a lot more value on Daniel Cormier. It's his last fight. I don't see him losing this fight, and I don't see how Stipe Miocic will win this fight, but I do think they know a lot about each other, and this fight will go the distance, which will go later into my bets. But long story short, I definitely got DC in this fight. Who do you got, Mean Gene?
I got DC as well. I think he is the better fighter in this matchup. I feel like he has won whatever it is, 4.5 rounds in this matchup. Total between the two fights. The first fight was split in half. I feel like Stipe was winning the majority of the first round in their first fight, and then DC, it's kind of turned it around, got into the clinch, and I know he ended up knocking him out, but he was looking better. At the beginning, I was like, damn, Stipe is like clearly going to win this fight. He was piecing up DC, and DC kind of turned around that first fight. Second fight, DC clearly won, in my eyes, 3.5 rounds. I know some people gave Stipe the third round, but I gave DC all 3 rounds, and then he was winning that fourth round until the body shots came in. So in the sense of their trilogy and the fights between the two fighters, I feel like DC has shown that he is the better fighter and has won more rounds. It's literally a coin flip. I'm fucking nervous. I called you because I already made a big-ass bet on DC a couple days ago, and I've been nervous after listening to a bunch of podcasts, reading a bunch of articles. There's a decent amount of people taking Stipe, and rightfully so at dog money. I can see why you're going to take Stipe at dog money. It's definitely the value's there. Similar, I'll just quickly saying I was wrong on this end. This is before even before we had our podcast, and even thought about doing a podcast, is when I took Robert Whitaker over Adesanya last October. And yeah, man, I took Robert Whitaker thinking plus money. How can you pass this shit up? But Adesanya, I knew in my heart of hearts that Adesanya was a better fighter and would probably beat him. But I was like, man, the value's on fucking Whitaker. And I ended up losing that fight, very easily. And I just feel like it's kind of the same thing, not in the sense of the matchup, but just more in the sense I have that feeling again where it's like, yeah, the value is on Stipe. He's the heavyweight champion. Take you're getting the heavyweight champ at plus money. Take him. But I just think DC is the better fighter, and I think that DC is like fucking motivated. This isn't Anaheim where he's had some of his toughest losses in his career. It's not in Anaheim where he lost to Stipe the second time and where he lost to John Jones. I feel like this dude is fucking motivated. He wants to go out on top. He is the better fighter. I feel like he has heavy hands at heavyweight. The wrestling is just clearly he's better. It's just obviously can he take Stipe down? Stipe is a good takedown defense, but he is the better a wrestler, obviously. And on the feet, Stipe Golden Gloves, yes, he is the better boxer, maybe more fluid, maybe better defensive fighter. But the fucking DC was piecing him up in that second fight, man, was clocking him. And that's why DC, and he said it, and I saw it in that moment with the fight. That's why he lost. He got too confident. He was piecing up Stipe. He's like, why do I have to take this guy down? I'm fucking clearly, landing shots at him on the feet. So I don't feel like DC is going to do that this time. I feel like he's been humbled. He realizes, like, hey, man, the value in me and my career moving forward is having the belt around my waist and retiring with the belt around my waist. And if I want to get a big money fight too against John Jones, I have to have that belt around my waist. I think he's super max motivated, whether it's his conversations with Ariel Helwani on their podcast, whether it's his interviews with Aaron Bronstedt or whoever else, Brian Campbell. I just feel like, man, this dude is max motivated. He brings in Corey Anderson, brings back Luke Rockhold, brings back Cain Velasquez, brings in not Henry Hoof, not Mark Henry. What's his name?
Mark Henry.
Yeah, Mark Henry brings in Mark Henry. I'm thinking about the WWE fight wrestler, Mark Henry.
He's bringing him for power.
So I was right, but I had the wrong skin color. But Yeah, Mark Henry brings him in. I think he's taking this super serious, man. Staying in his second home, his previous house, away. He's away from the family. Bringing in the dude from fucking Brazil. I forget his name. This dude is taking this shit super
Thiago.
serious. Huh?
Thiago.
What?
Thiago is the
Oh,
guy.
Thiago. Yeah, Thiago. And yeah, man, I'm going DC, and we're gonna get our bets in a second. I just feel like, man, this is where you take DC, man. He's a slight favorite. Take him. Just take the dude. He might lose, and you might fucking hate me for telling you guys to take DC. But what I'm saying is, like, at these odds, he is the better fighter. He's proven in the previous 2 fights. I feel like he's made adjustments. And yeah, man, you're getting him at fucking minus 115, 110 in some places. Yeah, man, take DC. I bet big on him. I hope I'm not wrong. And yeah, man, I got DC.
Speaking of bets, let's jump right into them. I mentioned, as we kind of already mentioned them all, but just going right off that main event, I got Daniel Cormier. He's at minus 116, so I just put 1.16 units on him. Makes my math easy there. As a unit for me is 100, but for obviously that unit changes based on what you guys use it as. And then I got Stipe versus Cormier going the distance as well. So that's a little bit riskier of a bet. I know Mean Gene, you'll get into your bets in a second. We'll just do the bets surrounding this main event, but yeah, I got that going the distance. I truly think it goes the distance, and I'm willing to take that price. This is all the way up to plus 200 for going the distance. So I'm definitely going to drop a unit on that. I know the odds makers don't think it goes the distance. They think it'll end in the 3rd, 4th round, somewhere around there. So yeah, I definitely got that going the distance. But if you want to be safer, you can do over 2.5 rounds or over 2 rounds, whatever you want to bet on. I'm just going going all out with it, and I think it goes the distance. But who do you got in the main event? Do you got any picks on the main event?
Is that what you want to do, or you just want to go through all your bets?
Well, I could go through all my bets, but then the recap will just sound like a broken record. So
Okay. I'll do mine then. So I got DC 2.5 units on him. I've already bet it. I bet it earlier in the week. Man, I'm all in, guys. When this line came out, super confident in DC. Then I had to call fucking BP. I had to call him this afternoon because I started getting fucking nervous, man. I had to have him reassure me that I made the right bet because there's a lot of people that are going against DC, man. When I say a lot, it's literally 50-50, half for DC, half for Stipe. But I just thought more people would be on DC. And what it is, I'll throw this out there just so it's understood, and this might end up coming to fruition. It's just that DC tends to gas in the 4th and 5th round, and he's more susceptible to shots in the 4th and 5th round. So that's where I started to get nervous. But yeah, I got DC 2.5 units. The other thing I'm going the same route you are, but I'm not going all in on it. It goes the distance. It's going over 2.5 rounds. I just feel like, man, with the first one was a fluke knockout. The second one, fluke in the sense of obviously DC had planned for. He realized that this dude keeps his hands down on the break in the clinch. So it's not like some fucking dummy. I just hit the guy. He went out. No, he obviously had planned for it and had saw that. But in the second fight you saw, though, it went 4 rounds and it potentially was just going to go the distance. And I just feel like in this, so given those 2 first fights, and then given the fact that DC, he's all in on this fight and his legacy's on the line, he is just, he potentially is going to wrestle. I think he is going to wrestle. I just see it going at least 2.5 rounds for sure. I think they're feeling out process in the beginning. I don't think anyone's going to take risks. I don't think anyone's just going to go out and try to knock each other out. I think they're going to be cautious. And in particular, DC is going to be super cautious in this fight. And I think that just leads to an over, man. And it's like DC is fucking my favorite bet, but like literally right behind the 1A, 1B with this one is the over 2.5 rounds. And you can get that at, I think it's like minus almost 150. So I'm just gonna go 1.5 units on that one. And
Minus 125 for that. Yeah.
oh well, yeah, minus 125. I'm going to a unit and a half on that.
Yeah. So any other bets that you have? My only other bet is I love John Dodson at that plus 205. So I'm just gonna throw a unit on him. I think he's a live underdog, and that line is way too big for me not to bite on it. But do you got any other bets, Mean Gene?
All right, so the Dodson, I'm okay with you taking that. Just like I'm okay with someone taking Marlon Vera. I can be honest. When these lines first came out, I started looking at the card. I was like, hey, man, the value is on Dotson. The value is on Vera. I potentially would bet that. But as I did more research, more thought about it, I just realized, like, it's not worth it. Between the two, I feel like Dotson is – oh, no, pardon me. Oh, yeah, I feel like Dotson's probably the better bet. Because I just think O'Malley is going to – Cheeto starts off so fucking slow. I think he's going to starch him in that first round. But we'll see what happens. Any other bets do I have? And you have to remind me because I already gave you my bets.
Yeah.
But I do have Rosenstrike. I do like Rosenstrike 100%. Like it was
minus 122, just so you know.
Yeah, it was like minus 160 at one point, 150. It's dropped down to 122. I get it because Dos Santos has more to offer in that fight and more past the victory. But yeah, man, I just like Rosenstrike. I think Rosenstrike's going to knock him out. Dos Santos has a suspect chin. He's been knocked out by Ngannou and Curtis Blades recently. And I feel like the kickboxing as well of Jairzinho, I feel like he can keep Dos Santos at a distance with the leg kicks at the very least and kind of pick him apart in that sense before he lands a big shot. So I can't pass it up. I feel like it's good value in a guy that I feel like it's gonna knock Dos Santos out, but I'm not willing to. There's no point in getting him on the win for the knockout because I think it's pretty fucking high. I think it's like minus 300 or something. I'm just gonna take him straight up. I put 1.5 units on that one. And then I think I took O'Malley inside the distance.
Yep.
Was the other one I took.
That's plus 155.
It's what?
Plus 155.
Yeah, so I'm just putting 1 unit on it. Listen, I would just take O'Malley for the knockout. But like I said earlier in my breakdown when we're going through and picking our fights, I feel like O'Malley could just, rock Vera and then somehow get him in a rear naked choke, get him in as Vera tries to shoot because he's rocked, he gets him in the guillotine, something like that. So, and Brian's the one that brought this up, and he's spot on with this. Before we got into the podcast, you can get you can get O'Malley right now for inside the distance at plus 155, a knockout inside the distance, TKO inside the distance at 150 or 155, and then you can get O'Malley inside the distance for 135.
Yeah,
130, right? Yeah, 135. So
the numbers are off, but yeah, they're
go ahead, tell me the numbers. It's what? Tell me the numbers real quick.
55 is the current inside the distance. So, but when you were looking at a different bet, we took these numbers from Bet Online. Mean Gene was looking at a different bet of a more local bet, and that was where those numbers were. But either way, the odds are still close, and yeah. So it's about.
No, but tell me the difference. So O'Malley.
I don't know what the.
All right, well, whatever. Hey, real quick, I'm pretty sure what it is because I think you got confused there on what I'm talking about. But just long story short, O'Malley to win via TKO or KO is like plus 150 or plus 155, something like that. And then for O'Malley to win inside the distance, it's plus 135. So let's just say it's 155 versus the 135. I'm willing to just eat the 20. I mean, the plus 20. To go the safer route and just take O'Malley inside the distance. Just because if he does rock Vera and Vera shoots for a takedown, guillotine, submission, that type of shit, you cover yourself instead of just a straight KO, TKO. So, and it's not that big of a difference, from 155 or 150 down to 135. So, that's another bet I'm going to put. I'm going to put 1.5 units on O'Malley inside the distance.
Okay, I'm getting up those exact odds right now just in case there's any issue. But Here it is. Marlon Vera versus Sean O'Malley. Marlon Vera to win is not that. Sean O'Malley to win by decision. No. Is Sean O'Malley to win by TKO? KO, yes, is 155 plus 155. So then it might have been 130 then, I believe, or 140.
135.
It is 135 for the other.
Yeah.
Okay. So there we go. So 135. I'll have to change this, and then I have to redo the math. But either way.
Why? What did you have that?
I had plus 155 for inside the distance, so I'm just going to
change it. It's all good.
It just changes the math a little bit for your total possible payout, which we'll do in a second. But either way, it doesn't change it much, actually. It just drops it by. Sorry, guys. Here we go. 0.92 is what you're – okay. Back to –
And that's it. I don't have any other bets.
Perfect. Yeah, to cap off what we were just saying, though, is it's $20 essentially. You're betting 1 unit, so that's 0.2 units that you're spending on insurance essentially. So you think he's going to win by knockout? Let's just play it safer. I'll take a little bit less if he does win by knockout, just in case he grabs that submission. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, that caps off our bets. Let's just recap our picks really quick. Mean Gene, I can just read your picks for you. I know usually we would have Mean Gene read the picks, but obviously his power's out. He's using his phone. So
go ahead.
You good with me doing your picks?
Yep.
Okay, so for my picks, I got Kai Kamaka, Parker Porter, Lavia Renato Souza, TJ Brown, Verna John DeRoba, Jim Miller, John Dodson, Herbert Burns, Jairzinho Rosenstrike, Sean O'Malley, and Daniel Cormier. And then Mean Gene has Kai Kamaka, Parker Porter, Livia Renato Souza, Danny Chavez, Verna. God, I can't. My eyes are like, it's too late here. Verna John DeRoba.
Drop some Visine.
What'd you say?
I said drop some Visine.
John DeRoba, Vince Pichel, Merab Devalivici. What the hell am I saying? Devalishvili, Herbert Burns, Jairzinho Rosenstrike, Sean O'Malley, and Daniel Cormier. And for bets, I have Stipe versus Cormier going the distance at plus 200. John Dodson at plus 205. That's 1 unit on both of those. And then Daniel Cormier, just straight pick at minus 116. I put 1.16 units on him. That brings me to total units bet of 3.16 and total possible payout of 5.05. For Mean Gene, he's got Daniel Cormier at minus 116 as well, but he's putting 2.5 units on that. He's got Jairzinho Rosenstrike at minus 122. He's putting 1.5 units on that. And then Stipe versus Cormier over 2.5 rounds, minus 125, 1.5 units on that as well. And then O'Malley winning inside the distance at plus 135 and 1 unit on that. That brings Mean Gene to a total units bet of 6.25 units and a total possible payout of 5.92 units. And that's all for that. And now I just thought of really quick. I'll just do a quick update from last card. I went 6-6 on the card. This was a Lewis Olnick card. So it brings me to a total of 37-37. I can't break 500, and I'm down I was down 2.68 units total now. Then we have Mean Gene, who is 50-24 after the card, which he was 8-4 on the card. He's killing it, pulling away with that. And then his bets he's up 3.64 units total. And he was up 1.25 units on the card. So that's all the stuff you'll need to see. You guys can see it on the YouTube channel over my face, over our faces while I read those. But other than that, I think we're done for today. Is that everything?
Yeah, that's it. I'm just super excited for this card, like legitimately. Excited to get off this call. off this whatever podcast, and then get some rest and
And then
wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah, do a little betting article in the morning, and then yeah, man, get ready for the fights at night. I'm like, undercard is super trash. I'll be honest, but once you get to like, once you get to main card, really, I was gonna say the main event, but not even that. But yeah, once you get to main card, there's some good fights on there, and man, that headliner is just literally, arguably the greatest trilogy fight of all time. Super big, a lot on the line. So man, dude, I haven't felt this way in a long time for a title fight, and I'm really looking forward to this matchup. So
historic for sure. Yeah, I was just about to say. So for those who don't know, I just moved back down to campus. We are having in-person classes at the moment. So I'm down in college, and Mean Gene is still back up by where he lives. So Mean Gene, I'm gonna have to FaceTime you or something for the main event. We're gonna see. It's historic. We gotta watch it together.
yeah, man. It's I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I get some power. If I don't, regardless if I do or don't, I'm going to be at the bar watching this shit, to be honest with you. It's that big of a fight. I got a lot of money on this fucking card. Probably some of the most money I've had in a while. So, yeah, man, I'm going to be I'll probably be at the bar watching this shit. So, I'm looking forward to it, man. I'll be still FaceTiming you, still talking to you about it, as always. But yeah, man, this is incredible. Just the main event is just super incredible because it does a lot for the legacies. It does a lot for the heavyweight division. Even John Jones comes into the mix. Light heavyweight division gets affected by all this shit too. So it's a big fight, man. I'm looking forward to it. So
I agree. Yeah. Other than that, I'll see you tomorrow, Mean Gene. The world, you guys will see us Sunday, maybe Monday. We'll see.
Sunday. They'll see us Sunday. We're gonna have a reaction video on Sunday.
Perfect. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about in the more broad, or the broader. When I say more broad, it's too late. The broader MMA world with Khabib and Gaethje coming up and all that stuff. So, lots to talk about on the reaction show. Make sure to check it out. Other than that, thank you to all of our sponsors. For the artwork, we got two pretty much. We got Jacob De Leon. I think that's hopefully that's his last name. Otherwise, I just sound like an idiot. But Jacob, thank you, Jacob, from All Access MMA for redesigning our logo. Thank you, Ty Still, for designing the heads and our other logo. We're still using it for the episode photos and thumbnails and whatnot.
And business cards and fucking T-shirts, and
Exactly.
we're gonna update the business cards and the T-shirts. But yes, if any of you guys got those fucking random business cards, yes, it is me. It is your fellow fucking P&D truck driver that's passing those bad boys out. So I'm glad you guys are fucking tuning in to the BP and Mean Gene MMA show. And like legitimately, man, I mean, we put out I'm sorry, man, I'm feeling fucking good. We're putting out fucking amazing content in general. I feel like in the MMA Twitter sphere, I feel like we're better than 99% or 95% of the people out there with their takes and shit. And yeah, man, when it comes to the betting, we're just only getting better. I feel like I'm legit when it comes to betting on fights and shit. You're going to have ups and downs, but just breaking down fights, analysis, things of that nature, man. Look out for us, man. Like legitimately, I'm not trying to be a fucking lame and like, yeah, we're going to be the greatest. But I'm just saying, man, like we're doing our shit, man. We're smart. We're educated. We're fucking diehard fans for decades. We've been, paying attention to the sport for decades, and it's only big things it's only big things moving forward for us. So,
and we're grinding. Like Mean Gene out there with no power at 1:07 a.m. Still doing.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So, anyways,
with that being said, so thank you, Ty and Jacob, for the artwork. Ty, you can follow Cloud City Cartel on Instagram, and I think Jacob would be very happy if you checked out All Access MMA, the website. that's the spot to go to check out basically his creation. So other than that, thank you to Alex Weishart for doing our music that will follow this podcast. Follow my voice, follow the beginning, or preceded the beginning. That you can follow him at Alohi on SoundCloud. Thank you to Fringe Faction for sponsoring. Check them out on YouTube. Subscribe if you're already on YouTube. Quick search in the search bar. Go to Fringe Faction or click on the link. It's easy, quick and easy. Funny people to watch. And then if you ever need to make a podcast, go to Anchor.fm. So thank you to them for being the platform for our audio podcast that we send this out on. And that's it.
Yeah, and that's it. And let me just throw this out there too, man. Because we might as well. We're shouting out Jacob. Yo, man, like you're fucking doing your shit. You're doing it big with your your post fight reactions, and previews as well sometimes. But normally post fight reactions on allaccessmma.com, and I'm putting out the betting articles as well on allaccessmma.com. Let's not be shy about this shit, man.
If you want to check us out.
Yeah, check us out, man. We're on that website. We're having fun doing these articles and things of that nature. So check us out on there as well. But yeah, other than that, man, enjoy UFC 252. Should be a good night of fights, and we'll catch you guys after the fights for a reaction. Whether it's same night, whether it's tomorrow night or Sunday, you'll get our reactions to the card and what we think is going to happen as a result of the results on UFC 252 moving forward. So,
yeah, absolutely. Until then, enjoy the fights.